We're in the wheelhouse of the Mark Twain this week for some great views of the Haunted Mansion, where we've got some revealing permits to talk about as well. And why are there Imagineers going into the Haunted Mansion? More demo at Critter Country and log testing. Wow, what an update we have for you this week. Let's get started. And start we will on the ground at Tianas Bayou Adventure, where the Lift Hill barn is going through its next phase of updates. They've had the sheathing up there for a little while, and now we're getting our first layer, our first roof layer. Meanwhile, there's the new tree that we've been admiring for the past couple of weeks. And the top of the Lift Hill at Tianas. We've seen that conveyor mechanism moving recently in videos. Today, there's nothing happening there. But stay tuned, we've got more on that. There again still are those wires where they're going to be hanging Mama Odie's potions soon. I feel like we're getting pretty close. Things have been moving rapidly here at Tianas, and it's kind of exciting, actually. It's really kind of exciting. Take a quick peek behind us on the turnaround to update you guys on that little bit of mesh work happening on the edges of that rockwork. You see more mesh down there. They're really cleaning this area up. It won't be long before this looks finished as well. There is the home of what we figure to be either an animatronic or a speaker, as guests make the turn back towards the show building. Here's a look at the other side of the lift barn, and I'm not sure what they're installing there. Here's a view from the Briar Patch, a little further back, maybe Davy Crockett Canoes. And I feel like we're seeing less scaffold than we've seen before. I feel like we're seeing more completed areas than we've seen before, obviously. But it's starting to really take shape. We're starting to get to see a glimpse of the final product. What is that? There's a little... What is that? Is that a critter house? Was that there before? Yeah, it looks like it was there last week, though we didn't notice it. We wouldn't have been able to notice it otherwise because the walls are in a different place now. But I hope that is a critter house, because that's really cool. And I hope they put a critter out there, literally. I would love to see that. Updating you on Pride Rock. I believe that's about as we left it last week. Kind of an overcast day, so the camera wasn't picking up the colors as well as it could. But I'm really happy. I'm really pleased with the vibrancy of this mountain hill salt mine. We'll go to Adventureland Treehouse to see if there's anything happening at the top of the mountain, which, I mean, we may have to suspend our trips up here because I haven't noticed anything up here for a while. There hasn't been scrimmer scaffold on top of the, the crown of that hill for a while. So there's not a lot to observe here, but we do get a pretty good view of the top of the drop area there. We're still waiting for them to finish that rear area back there. You see just the sort of green first layer that almost looks like paint. But other than that, looks near finished. That's all well and good, but look at this clip obtained by, and I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that Twitter handle. This is Jacob. Thanks to Jacob for this shot. Those are ride vehicles being tested. That's real. That actually did happen, you guys. That did happen. I could watch this for days. There's no water in the drop. They can test this, I guess, without... The water is just for show at this point in the attraction. The boat is, attached to the track. Or the log is. So you can test this, I guess. But that is pretty great. That suggests that we have caught up a little bit with Tianas at Magic Kingdom. A quick overview of the timeline. End of January, Magic Kingdom closes their Splash Mountain. Disneyland closes theirs at the end of May. So there was about a 4-month gap. We were 4 months behind when we started this process. The first flume testing, the first log testing that we saw at Magic Kingdom was the beginning of February, where we're getting our first log testing in the middle of May. So it's about a 3.5 month gap now. We've closed it by a couple of weeks, which is fascinating because it seemed like we were losing ground for a while there as things were progressing. It felt like Magic Kingdom had outpaced us even further We are now about 3 months behind. So if we use their June 9th for media and then June 29th for guests as the basis, we could expect our Tianas to open by early to mid-September. That's our guess right now, all things being equal, if we're going strictly by the math and how these dates align with what we already have seen happen at Magic Kingdom. It's possible that our Tianas Bayou Adventure could be open to the public by the end of September. And that is great news because for a long time, we were thinking end of the year. We were thinking November, December. And wouldn't that be something if they could get both the Haunted Mansion and Tiana's open by the Halloween season? Not necessarily the very beginning of it, but in time for the Halloween season. That would be fantastic. By the way, they are still putting water into the attraction on a almost routine basis, it seems like now. This recent capture is from Joel Petty on Twitter. That's a steady flow of water right there. We'll get on the train to go check out Critter Country. Quick stop here at the Norris station to show you the current status of that building there, at the Norris station. Nothing happening there as far as I can tell, other than some smoke signals coming out. We'll start with a look behind. This will be the entrance area. What we're looking for here is to see what they're doing with the flooring, with the path out in front of Tiana's. If they're redoing it in the same way that they did the cobblestone type path that they have at Magic Kingdom, which looks great. And to see if they are going to repaint or in some way retheme the entrance barn as they did at Magic Kingdom. A lot of destruction there. So that's all we've got right now. It's just that demo where they're carving up that concrete, taking it out, and they're going to put in some new flooring there. I have heard a rumor, by the way, as we pass by Winnie the Pooh, that they are going to be updating this attraction as well. While it's closed, I don't know if it's going to be very much that is guest-facing, but I am expecting to see some, or hearing that there will be some improvements being made, updates to the actual attraction. I happened to notice on the way out, by the way, on our second trip through, we got to take 2 trips around to get all this footage. That's steel rising above the fence line there. That's steel. Was that there last week on our last trip? No, it was not. So they have installed some steel right there against, that's about where the FastPass kiosk was back in the day, the Haunted Mansion FastPass kiosk. It's not exactly proper queue space right there, from the old days. So I don't know what it is. They're probably a wall of some kind, perhaps. But there you go. We've got some actual vertical construction happening on the other side of that wall at the Haunted Mansion. Here's the current state of things as we face the Briar Patch. There's an empty flume track right there. No water, no vehicles in there. And they did. Last week I thought they were going to preserve that path. But no, they have not preserved that path. That path is now gone completely. Total demo. Look at all the vehicles back there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 earth movers. 6. Another one has appeared. 2 giant hills. Well, good-sized hills. Nothing compared to Mount Gracie. Those are more, I don't know, Ray the Firefly-sized hills. But there's not a lot to discern there because it's all just still dirt mode. If we back up a little bit, we'll take another look. Do not remove that tree, so that's good. At least that tree is going to stay. But they're way off in the distance. You can see the Briar Patch, but they are going to completely redesign that queue space right there. We mentioned this last week, and folks were wondering why would they, it was such a beautiful area. Why would they, go through all that trouble to redo that when it looked good to begin with? We do have a model. D23, 2 years ago now. They showed us. And this is what they're going to be building right there. They're going to get a lovely little sign out here in front of the Briar Patch for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And then a bunch of switchbacks are going to be built around that space where the old FastPass queue was. There's going to be some show elements there. There's something in a cage right here. Some sort of, well, I don't know what that is, but I want to call it a cage, but I'm not sure what the proper word is for that. But we can see that that path that they did destroy will be restored in some way. There is a queue, a path that is running parallel to the mountain in this concept, or in this model, I should say. But you can see a lot of, areas going back and forth, running guests through that space. And with at least, like I said, at least 2 show elements there. One by that tree, that's the do not remove tree right there, actually. And then another one back here. And that, you guys, is the current condition of Tianas Bayou Adventure. A very exciting week. I'm really looking forward to the finish line. We just got a few months to go now. 3 months, thereabouts. Which takes me back to the Rivers of America. As I walk down this path, this is, it used to be the site of the Blanket Brigade, people getting ready for Fantasmic. That's happening this week. This Friday. In just a few days, Fantasmic will return with some rendition of Murphy the Dragon, which I know that there is something dragon-esque, I believe, happening. But in any case, just to get you guys prepared, what we're showing you here are all the various different viewing places, because you can't sit in that primary area. That is now just for dining packages only, which you can be reserving those now. But all these views are various locations where you might be able to post up and camp out and get a spot for Fantasmic. We did a video when Fantasmic first returned last time about, a strategy guide for getting a spot. It's probably still 80-90% relevant today. There are some factors there that are different today than they would have been back then. But do check that video out if you're looking to figure out a way to sort of hack getting a spot for Fantasmic without having to camp too early. Do check out that video. There will be a link in the description. Our strategy guide for Fantasmic. We'll go back to City Hall real quick to update you guys on what's happening there in between City Hall and the fire department. Walt's apartment. The little patio out there. We noticed this last week. There was some steel up. They're getting ready to build something there. That has not developed in this last week. I'm going to keep an eye on this because that's kind of fascinating to me. What could they be doing up there? Also, I noticed there's some electrical. They're running some electrical. Now, that could just be extensions for some other use, but that's something to keep an eye on. The facade work continues at the Emporium right there next to the fire department. Same for that location next to the Silhouette Studio on Main Street. We actually saw a guy there. He's got a little sander, electric sander. So they're repainting that facade. Great moments with Mr. Lincoln. We've been talking about this for a little bit. Last week we talked about those permits. You can still go in though. You can still check out Walt's bench and the carousel horse. Get some popcorn. Go check out pretend popcorn. And then the 100th is still available to review if you guys want to check the 100th out and that new video. But the show itself, Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, is still closed. But you can go check out the Capitol building. But we're waiting for those doors to open for a little while still to see what they've done. This is the most excited I've been about something happening at Great Moments in a long time. Walls are down at that area that was being worked on at the Adventureland entrance. Whatever they were doing is finished. My suspicion was just plumbing. That area, the rock work on the other side of the river there was what had been dug up. I could see through the cracks, but we couldn't get a camera in there. But that has been restored. It looks just like it did before, so no real changes there. The walls are still up around the restroom. I have not seen any movement on that situation at all. Nothing has happened there. Downtown Disney. We got some rebar planted on the left side of the planter. Didn't see this when I was filming, but I can see it now. They got some rebar laid down there, so that means they're going to be putting in some concrete, make a concrete path there in short order. Also, it looks like rebar has been put in place on the right side of that planter, adjacent to the retail building. And here's that scrim. The scrim has actually been fortified, it looks like, for Parkside Market. We can't see anything from this side. Why do I get on the monorail still? I'm going to have to cancel the monorail. I'm going to have to cancel the top of the Adventureland Treehouse. We come out the other side. while I was getting my B-roll of this space in downtown Disney. We had a lovely little performance happening on stage at the Parkside Market stage. I don't know what to call this area. I still don't. We called it the grass area for the longest time, but there's a stage here and everything. But there's a performance happening. Enjoy while we take a look around. Last week we saw that they had put a sign up for Din Tai Fung on the rear part of the building. This week, another sign has been installed at the entrance, and they've even turned the lights on this one. Din Tai Fung. Man, I can't wait. We're about a month away from this one. I want to try some dumplings, man. I want to know what all the fuss is about. But this building looks to be done from the outside. The exteriors look to be done. Obviously, they're still doing concrete, etc. down there, but it looks to be near done. 1 month. Earl's, nothing happening at Earl's. Nothing. This is a very fascinating development here. Fascinating situation. I sure hope they've got somewhere to go on that. Parkside Market from the ground. We can't see anything from the back from the monorail, but we can see that there's some theming features are being. This is it. Here we go. We got some design. 2 ovals are in place now. What those are actually windows. If we look at the concept art that's right there on the wall, there they are. 2 ovals. There's going to be. I don't know if those are windows or just cutouts, but that's our first visible theming. And then this area that you can see in frame right now, it's going to be an outdoor seating area. It's covered, but outdoor, so guests can watch the show. There's also going to be an uncovered, exposed area where guests can watch the show happening right there. Awesome. We're going to go to DC to check out on Redwood Creek. But before we do, I want to update you guys on this situation. We've been waiting for this to develop. These are the new scanners, the new pass-through scanners for entrance into the parks. We saw a permit for this a while back. Disney was going to spend a bunch of money updating all of the turnstiles. That situation appears to be stalled right now. It sounds like they've had some issues. They're not working the way that they want them to. And so nothing is happening on this project right now. There's no progress. Nothing has been tested or added. We're waiting for them to fix whatever it is that's broken with this. With that, we will go to Redwood Creek Challenge. Scrim and scaffold are still up at various parts around this attraction. These are, I don't know what you call these, the play areas where kids can run around on the rope bridges and the zip line, etc. We have a permit on this. A permit was recently filed, just a few days ago. Redwood Creek Challenge light pole install. They're replacing a lot of light poles throughout the parks. I'm assuming because of the ones that have fallen in recent times due to the high winds. So they're replacing a lot of these light poles all over the place. So there's that. Then there's a retrofit of existing structures to accommodate new equipment in lighting and new projectors with electrical. That's interesting. What are the projectors for? A retrofit of existing structures to accommodate new equipment lighting. Very interesting. I hope that's guest facing. I would love to see an upgrade here at Redwood Creek Challenge. We'll stay tuned. We'll go back to Disneyland. Time for one of the coolest things that we've done since the Haunted Mansion is closed. We were invited up to the wheelhouse of the Mark Twain to get the tippy-toppest view of Haunted Mansion. Imagine you get to ride the wheelhouse, and the only thing I'm thinking about is, what's the view like of the Haunted Mansion? Well, the first thing we're going to notice is that there is some dirt. There's a new pile of dirt. Not exactly Mount Gracie, but it is dirt nonetheless. But look at that right there. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cast members heading into the Haunted Mansion. Those are Imagineers. They all have the brown helmets. Those are Imagineers. They're going to walk through the attraction. Why do they need to walk through the attraction, Fresh Baked? A very important question. If all of this was to just update ADA access, an elevator to build a cast member break room, which we're going to talk about in a minute, to redo the lawn out there, to redo all that. If that was the purpose of this closure, why then are Imagineers walking as if to experience something? They're walking into the Haunted Mansion collectively as a group. It's like they're doing a preview. They're going to look at whatever it is that they've been doing inside the Haunted Mansion. Something is happening in that building. What it is, we don't know. We kind of alluded to this in previous videos. Something perhaps with the bride, maybe a new bride. Maybe it's just lighting. Maybe there's show elements. We don't know. But it's something to motivate 8 Imagineers to enter the Haunted Mansion and take a ride through? Do an experience? I don't know. This situation is getting more and more fascinating, more and more curious as the weeks progress. So yeah, we're a little bit higher now. Getting back to the actual construction, we're a little higher now. So we get to see a little bit further down. It doesn't reveal a lot more, but we just get a better look. We could see more of, let's say, the fall protection there and the wooden stakes that have been set up to create a perimeter. They're creating definition in certain areas. That's a lot of netting, though, for that spot, for that part of the park, I must say. This is the front lawn, and again, we can see a much better view of all those wooden stakes that have been... We've been watching these, just the tip top of those wooden stakes on the grassy area in front of the mansion. So there's definitely a lot of definition being set up. They're getting ready to do something. There's a big gap. There's a trench right there in the middle. Probably for, plumbing or conduit or something to that effect, not show related. But that's about where the end of the pet cemetery would have been. You're just about to make the right turn, or near to it, to get into the rear section of the queue. But I'm going to stop right here because this is the thing that I noticed. That black rectangular section there, and then the square rectangular, or the square black section there behind the fall protection netting. You can see some dark space underneath that. That's approximately where that crypt door was. If you've ever gone through that secret entrance into the Haunted Mansion, that's that space. That's what we're looking at right there. That's also the future home of the break room that they're installing, and where they've been installing the new elevator. Not necessarily in that space within the frame, but that general area and the area behind it. The elevator would be in the area behind it, if I'm not mistaken, if I have my bearings correct. This is the first best look we've seen at that trench that they have been, working on for the past few weeks, and that the space underneath all of that. That's really fascinating. I observed this because there's a new permit again filed back on the 14th for $11 million. This is a valuation of $11 million. That's the cost to build. Haunted Mansion, non-residential edition, 1,517 square foot basement level, and then 78 square feet at park level, 609 square feet trellis canopy, and 35 square foot roof extension over stage with mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So take that piece by piece, because that's actually a bunch of different things all put together in one paragraph. It sounds like the break room, that 1,500 square feet, is the break room that they're building for the cast members. And then also for the elevator, which is a good sized space. Guys, there's 1,500 square feet down there. To put that in perspective, my last apartment was 1,200 square feet. 1,500 square feet is literally a living area. So that's what they've been building down there. That's a pretty big project. Albeit it's still not an attraction level of, but it is significant. It's a good sized space that they built down there. That's why we had to move all that dirt. You got a 609 square foot trellis canopy. That, I'm almost positive, is going to be for the rear queue. They're going to build a canopy and a trellis, trellis and a canopy, over the rear queue. and have it covered so you get a little shade protection, which there wasn't a lot of. They had the umbrellas set up, but if you weren't in the right spot at the right time, you were exposed basically to either the sun or the rain, whatever the case may be. That is something that is typical. A trellis canopy is typical of a garden space. If you were to look one up on the internet, as I did, a lot of those trellises are covered over backyards, over spaces where there's, a garden, as I mentioned. And that's what the rear queue is supposed to be. If you look at the concept art, you can tell that what they're going for. And that's really the case for all of this Haunted Mansion space, past and present and future, is a garden. But they're just going to, I feel like they're going to lean into that a little bit more. The area is going to look more like a garden than it did before, because it didn't really. If you had told me we were in a garden in the old exterior queue, the rear queue, I would have said, eh. But they're going to make it, I would assume, a little bit more thematic in that sense. So that's interesting. And then a roof extension over the stage. We don't know where that's going to be, what the stage is, quote unquote. I don't expect there to be like a show stage, but something that's on stage, as it were, to use parlance. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we'll be able to observe that in future trips around the park. But those are the really interesting things that have popped up on this permit. And then we have one more, a $5 million permit submitted on the same day. 227 LN, well, I'm assuming that's length, 227 feet in length by 7 foot high walls with wall fountains. That's got to be the divider between the Haunted Mansion queue, the new queue that they're building, which which presently is dirt, but was Magnolia Gardens, the fountain. I think they're describing that wall right there, and it's going to separate the Haunted Mansion queue from the guest areas that are going to be adjacent then to Tiana's Palace. And then 7 foot tall pilasters, which are very Haunted Mansion. Where they're going to put those, they don't say, but we're getting these. And then new light poles. As I mentioned, they're replacing light poles all over the place. So there you go. We've got a 1,500 square foot basement for cast members, a break room. We've got a trellis canopy. We've got a covering for something that's going to all go on stage. We've got a new wall. This is all going to be happening very soon. These permits are filed as, just prior to them starting to work on it. So I would say that this is imminent. We got a 7 foot high wall that's about to be constructed. So as we keep moving to the right on the Mark Twain, it looks like there's forms. There's forms happening on the ground there. Also back towards the left of frame now. I'm trying to visualize where that might be. That's about the edge of the exterior queue, those forms right there. No, perhaps not. I was hoping we could see the beginnings of that wall, but it looks like that's going to be just out of frame as we pass into those trees. Next time, we'll try to get a better look next time. As for this time, we'll take this view over the walls to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, where we got another collection of Imagineers and construction workers at near the bottom of the drop for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And we're getting a wave from that Imagineer. All right. As we come around the backside, we can get a view of, again, the total destruction of the Critter Country path. The path as you curl around the Briar Patch and into Critter Country proper. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 4 earth movers there in frame of varying purpose. That is a lot of demo, a lot of concrete being ripped up back there. I'm actually looking through the windows of the wheelhouse. This is the coolest thing that I think I've ever done in a construction report. I have to say, it's the coolest thing. So that right there is where the old queue was, the path, the concrete path that existed last week but does not exist today. So they've dug that up. That's fresh and dug up. But it's going to come back in a different, better, I believe. It's going to look better than it did before. Right there in the middle left of the frame, that's the Briar Patch. Looking over, you can see into Tianas Bayou Adventure a little bit. Incredible. Looks great. I hope to be able to get a chance to do this again. It's just luck, being able to, being invited, right timing, right day. But hopefully we'll get to do this again. But that was fantastic. That was really, really great. That was the best, coolest thing ever. And that's, I'm sorry. We got one more thing I want to talk about. You may or may not have heard on social media that Disney has been updating or have updated security procedures at bag check, both at the Harbor Boulevard entrance and at Mickey and Friends parking structure and the Pixar Palace parking structure. I don't have a lot of video to show you of what they did because Disney asks us not to film security. So we got a couple long shots and that's about it. What they've done is they've added plexiglass to the actual bag check table so that when the cast member is checking the bag, the screeners, it's behind glass, and then there's also a bowl for you to put the stuff that's in your pockets into a bowl, which is, I can't believe they never had these bowls, or weren't doing this already. I prefer that because their stuff tends to fall all over the place and run around. But this gives the cast member a chance to check what was in their pockets, and they can examine the bowl without having to touch all of your stuff. Should have been doing that a long time ago. And the glass is obviously to keep people from interacting with the stuff that they're asking the screeners to screen. This is the kind of thing that tends to be, volatile in nature. People get upset because it actually, it definitely has slowed things down initially. Anytime Disney does something like this, anytime Disney changes a procedure like this, it's because they're reacting to something that has happened. Something happened at a security bag check that has forced Disney to change their policy. I don't know what that is. I don't know any details about what that is. It's my observation. Disney's not going to do this just for fun, just for kicks. They would rather not waste all your time. I'm sure of that. They don't like having those long lines out there. I'm sure that's not the way they want people to start their days. Things will improve over time. They just got to kind of work it out and figure out the rhythm of things. And in short enough time, it'll become a non-story. We won't even notice. And then finally, we'll wrap with an update on closing dates for various attractions around the park in Disneyland. The Columbia is still closed. Today, it'll be closed through Thursday. I believe it's going to reopen the day of Fantasmic on May 24th. Winnie the Pooh, Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is closed indefinitely. As of this recording, that means until at least June 29th. That's as far into the future as we can see on the refurb calendar. The Briar Patch and Pooh Corner, though, those are closed today, obviously, because they're working on that stuff, but they are showing as reopening or are closed until June 9th and then reopen the following day. The calendar on June 10th does not include Briar Patch or Pooh Corner. Now, I don't know if that means they're going to open Critter Country or if it just means those buildings no longer exist. Perhaps that's what it is. Perhaps it is the fact that they're no longer the Briar Patch. They are now Raised Berets and Critter Co-op. We'll stay tuned because you'll notice one thing that doesn't appear on any of the refurb calendars is either Splash Mountain or Tianas Bayou Adventure. That ride simply does not exist right now. It does not in any kind of condition. So it could be that that's what we're talking about, is that they will cease being what they were, and now we'll have to wait for them to become what they will be. As for DCA, Redwood Creek is closed still, but on June 20th, it will reopen. The bakery tour is closed until June 1st. And Cocina Cucamonga is closed, but that will reopen on May 25th. And that, Fresh Baked, is our construction update for this week. I do hope you enjoyed. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/freshbaked. You can follow us on on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And Fresh Baked.